Hi there YouTube friends, Kalos Harisate, and welcome back to Mom's Greek Kitchen, the channel where I teach you my mom's Greek recipes in her memory. Today we're making Imam Bayildi, or Imam Bayildi. Imam Bayildi. Actually, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, as the title or the name of the dish is not a Greek, aren't Greek words. They're from Turkish, if I understand correctly, and it translates to something like the Imam fainted or the Imam swooned. There's a whole story behind it, and you can look it up. In Greek, we could call these melitzanes salsa, so eggplant in sauce. It's a really good vegetable dish. It's eggplant spears fried until dark golden brown, and they are sauced in a tomato and mint and garlic and onion sauce. It's great hot, great room temperature, and great cold. Relatively easy to do, so come into the kitchen and I'll show you how to do it. So we're ready to start our Imam Bayildi. I'm not going to say melitzanes salsa because it's a different recipe, really. It explains or it describes this dish, but it doesn't have the right flavorings in it. Imam Bayildi has the mint or basil, which is not traditional for the melitzanes salsa. So for our recipe today, I have 2 eggplant. You can do it with 1 or more. It's up to you how much you want to make. I've picked 2 nice, shiny, blemish-free eggplant, no wrinkles. I don't worry too much about the male versus the female controversy with eggplants. I really haven't seen that much difference between a male and a female eggplant. So don't really worry about it. Just nice, shiny, firm fruit. So we're going to cut off the flower end, or stem end I should say. And then we're just going to basically cut these guys into long spears. So in half. So this is the male. So as you can see, not a lot of seeds. We'll see, I think the other one is actually maybe a male as well. I didn't pick it, it just came that way. So then we're going to cut them into quarters and into eighths, and that's about the size I want. All right. So about an inch or so on the back side. And we're going to do all of them. You can cut them into half again this way if you want shorter pieces. But Mom always left them long, so I will do it the way she did. And we'll do our second one the same way. Now that our eggplant has been cut, we need to salt it pretty heavily, and we're going to put it into a colander or strainer, whatever you want to call it, and leave them for about 15-20 minutes so that they can leach out any liquids, especially the bitter liquids that eggplant can sometimes have. So just basic salt, sprinkle both sides, and lay it into your colander. Lay them side by side or interweave them so that the flesh touches the other flesh if you can. It's harder with the wedges, of course, than slices, but you just turn them upside down and they fit in between the gaps where the other ones left a gap when they were put side by side. If they're touching, more of the salt works on the flesh and more of the liquid comes out, but it doesn't really matter. So a nice sprinkle, don't go too crazy. You don't want them really salty at the end. A lot of the salt will leach out with the liquid, but you just need to have a light hand. Alright, so there are my eggplant slices. Like I said, I put them in together so that they're as much of the skin is touching or the flesh is touching. They're on another pan because they will leak, and they will, 2 eggplants like this, we may get more than half a cup of liquid, maybe more. I'll show you what that looks like when they're done. So I'll be back in about 20 minutes or so, half an hour, depending on if I get busy doing something else, and we'll go from there. Alright? See you then. Alright, it's been about half an hour. Our eggplant has sat and has released lots of liquid, so you can see how damp they are, and there's a puddle of water underneath them. Maybe about a quarter cup or so, I would say. So now we need to pat dry our eggplant. So for that you need lots of paper towel or kitchen cloth, depending on how you roll. I'm just going to get these out of the way for a second. So just going to lay some paper towel down. And we're going to basically just line up our eggplant, cut side down. And then you're just gonna pat them down. I'll get some more paper. Your next step will be frying these, so you want them pretty dry, otherwise they will sputter everywhere and possibly cause you to burn yourself. So get as much water off of them as possible. And then we'll set them aside and start heating our oil. Alright, that's pretty dry. Good on both sides. Let me get the set up for the frying part, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm set up with my frying pan on the burner here, and I'm going to add some olive oil. And you want about a quarter inch of oil on the bottom of your pan. And we'll wait till that gets nice and hot. Alright, our oil is nice and hot now. We're just going to place our eggplant wedges in. You want to hear that nice little sizzle. Place them close together because you've got a lot of it to fry. And we're going to fry them on both sides until they're nice dark golden brown. Now, part of the story where this recipe supposedly gets its name, and an imam got married, and part of the dowry that came with the bride was 7 amphoras of olive oil. On the first night of the marriage, the new bride made this recipe. Well, the Imam loved it, and he requested that at every dinner this dish would be served. And so second night, third night, fourth night, fifth night, sixth night he comes for dinner and there's no eggplant dish on the table, and he's like, "Wife, I asked you to always have this dish on the recipe." She goes, "Yes, I know, but I ran out of olive oil." And that's when he fainted. And supposedly that's that's where this recipe gets its name. Eggplant does absorb a little bit of oil, and I guess it's a play on that fact. You want to have it on a relatively high heat, probably as high as it goes, because if it's not hot, the eggplant will absorb more oil than it normally would. So right now we're frying on high heat. I've got it on sear, which is the hottest that my induction cooker gets. A little darker. So you can see that nice dark deep brown color, and that's what we want. Even a little darker if you'd like, just don't burn them. Alright, so now you've seen the color. You fry both sides so they're the same, and then take them and place them into a colander or somewhere where they can drain a little bit so you don't have too much oil at the end. I will continue until they're all done, and then I will be back to show you the next step. Alright, we're back for our next step. So I am going to start the sauce for our eggplant. Our ingredients are 1 large onion, finely chopped, 3 to 4 cloves, big cloves of garlic, finely chopped. I've got a full can of tomato paste, the small can, 6 ounces, or I forget what it is in milliliters, but I'll have that on the list. I've got some mint here. I've got 2 sprigs worth of leaves. This is November when this is going up, so these are store-bought, so I'm not sure exactly what kind of mint it is. Mom used to use spearmint. For the most part, that's what she grew, but she also had English garden mint. Either would work, or you could replace this mint with basil. Mom very rarely made it with basil. I don't even know if I've ever had it with basil, but she tells me that it is an option, or she told me it was an option. So I'm just going to chop up our mint here. Give it a rough chop, and we have our mint ready to go. I've also got salt and pepper and water. Those are basically all the ingredients we need. So I'm just gonna flip you around now, and pardon the okay, and we'll move you out a bit. There we are. Okay, this is the exact same frying pan I had on the stove earlier. I fried off my eggplant. I drained the oil, but I saved the oil. So there's the oil that was in the pan. I wiped out our pan. So now I'm going to turn the heat up to high again. I'm going to add our onion. And a drizzle of water. Maybe a tablespoon or two. And we're going to sweat the onion until the water disappears. I think this step, the water step, Mom always did this when she was doing onions that she was then going to saute. And I think it's to prevent the onions from burning too quickly. She always did it, and she never told me why. I don't know if she knew why. It may have been something that she inherited from those who taught her how to cook. But I do it because Mom did it. We're almost there. So while I was frying the eggplant, I had to add a little bit more oil, but maybe just another, maybe eighth of a cup, quarter of a cup maximum. It didn't take as much oil as the story would have us believe, but it does drink up a little bit of oil. And basically when it stops steaming, you know that it's pretty much dry. Alright, we're almost there. So now I'm going to reintroduce the oil that we saved. And I may need to add a little bit more, but we'll see. I think we might be okay. Just a little bit more. Maybe another tablespoon or so. You need enough oil to brown off the other ingredients, but we don't want it swimming in oil. Well, in Greece it would be swimming in oil. They'd probably add quite a bit more. So we're going to cook this until the onions start to brown slightly. And then we're going to add our mint and our garlic. And we will saute until they go dark brown. And then we will add our tomato paste. I'll be back when our next step is ready to go. Alright, we're back. So as you can see, we have a nice dark browned onion and garlic and mint mixture. We're going to make a hole in the middle. We're going to add our tomato paste. And we're going to stir fry the tomato paste for a minute or so some of that raw flavor and any bitterness can go away. Alright, that should be enough. Now we mix everything in together. And now we're going to add water. We're going to add enough water to make a sauce that we like the consistency of. Maybe just a titch looser because it will cook for about another 15 minutes or so. And it will tighten up a little bit. You can always add water if you need to, but we want to make sure the sauce is where we want it, because once we add the eggplant slices, which are now very soft, we don't want to mix too much so they fall apart. Stir it in because the tomato paste will thicken the water, and it will deceive you until you stir it all together. I want it a little thinner than that. And just a little more. I want it to the point where it coats the eggplant. It has a nice little sauce on the side, something I can dip bread into. That's sort of what you want. The eggplant will release a little bit of liquid, but not a lot. And I'm going to go a little bit more again. So I'm going to guess that was about a cup of water. Yeah, that's good there. So now we're just going to transfer our eggplant. Gently laying them in. Now some of these I let go quite a bit more. That's more of what I want. It adds a lot of flavor to the dish, but you decide what you want. As you can see, they're quite soft now and very delicate. They will fall apart if you stir too much. Now, I've always loved this dish ever since I was a kid, but when I was young, I wouldn't eat the eggplant. It's an acquired texture taste. But I always loved the sauce, so I would just dip bread into it. And one of the adults would eat the eggplants. But now I enjoy the entire dish. So there we are. We're going to turn it down to a medium. And we're going to basically let it simmer for another 15 minutes or so. So the eggplant is really nice and tender. All the flavors have melded. Really, for this dish to be at its best, it should sit overnight and reheated and served the next day. But it's good as is. So this obviously has the Turkish influence, the mint, the eggplant, the name, etc. Okay, I'm just going to let it saute or simmer, and I'll be back to show you the completed dish. And here we are. Our eggplant has been simmering for about 20 minutes. You want to give it a light stir so it doesn't, so it gets it off the bottom if it's a little sticky there. Everything is nice and tender. I'm going to spoon out a portion to show you. But this is still a little searing hot, so just bear with me for a minute and I'll be right back. Alright, and we're back. So here's our Imam Bayildi. As you can see, it's very tender. And I put some sauce because that's my favorite part. And of course the best way to eat it is to just dump some bread in it. Just perfect. Now as a kid, like I said, I didn't like the eggplant because it's a little mushy. But if you've had any eggplant dish, you know that that's the way the vegetable goes. Just right. That browning of the eggplant really gives it a lovely flavor. It doesn't make it look as pretty as it could, but it's a great dish. I hope you try it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me a lot. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the notification bell if you haven't. And let your friends know that the channel is here. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.